Yes,
has that been
absolutely.
a big story over in Brazil, Tim?
A little bit less, because what he did, he made his career kind of taking that bossa nova sound and adapting it for the American palate. So I remember when Will.i.am brought him back, around 10 years
It
ago.
was a good album, timeless, very
It was,
Fabulous
yes,
album,
yes. But he was on TV here, and I was with three generations of my wife's family, and none of them had heard of him. So I think he's more famous in the States than he was in back home in Brazil.
Well, when we play the birthday spread every Thursday, we play a bit of Sergio Mendes and Pele when they collaborated.
Yeah,
and
we interviewed him twice. He was a really lovely man.
He came in the studio. Well, maybe he spoke to Pele as well. We played the song, and Pele started to sing along, didn't he?
That's right. That's very true.
And happy memories. Anyway, we've had World Cup qualifying. Certainly the latter rounds of the two didn't go well for the big hitters, Argentina and Brazil.
No, Argentina, well, it's a tough one because you're away to Colombia, and Colombia play 3:30 in the afternoon in the absolute scalding heat of Barranquilla. And it's too hot. It really, I wonder if this should be allowed, but there you go. And they played all right. I mean, they went down 2-1 to a kind of dodgy VAR penalty. This was in these two rounds. It was Argentina for the first time in years and years in an official game without either Messi or Di Maria. And Di Maria is gone now. Big presentation for him last Thursday night before the 3-0 win over Chile. And Messi is out injured, and you don't know how long he's going to be going on. So this is a glimpse at Argentina's future with Julian Alvarez in the Messi role. And they did all right. But without Messi and Di Maria, there is a lack in that final third of the fella who can dribble. The one who can break the lines and do something special. And so I think this is a big season coming up for Garnacho of United, because he could be the one. Maybe not starting, maybe off the bench, but he could be the one, the line breaker, the partnership breaker, if you like. So a big season coming up for him.
Yeah,
good point.
Brazil were a bit of a mess, but the coach has made a very bold pronouncement, hasn't he?
It's an absolute shambles. Yeah, Dorival Jr., he's an experienced coach, but he's never worked outside Brazil. So this step up is proving hard work for him. And he was under pressure because they beat Ecuador 1-0 last Friday, but it really wasn't very good. It was a deflected goal. They didn't create anything. They are not creating anything. So Monday, before the game away to Paraguay, now he's very, very cautious. He always reminds me of a Soviet low-level apparatchik explaining away disappointing production statistics. That's the kind of charisma that he's got. He's always very cautious, and he says, no, time, process. And then Monday, he suddenly come out with, I guarantee you, we are going to be in the World Cup final. Well, at the moment, they are a long, long way off, because his team then went out against Paraguay and showed exactly why that's looking at the moment. Things can change. There's no prizes for coming first in qualification, but at the moment, that's a huge way off, because they were terrible again last night, 1-0 against Paraguay. Fantastic goal scored by the Brighton-bound midfielder Diego Gomez. But if this was any other World Cup, you will be looking at this and saying Brazil are in trouble now. Because this is an expanded one, 48 teams qualifying. The top 6 from South America go through automatically. The 7th goes into a playoff. They're in no problems, I think, especially as next time around they're up against Chile and Peru, the bottom 2 sides in the table. They should be able to pick up some momentum. But they are not performing at all. There is no team there. There really isn't. There are no attacking connections. It's like every man's on his own individual
it's
island.
Rodrigo, Hendrick and Vinicius Jr., people who literally play together at club level as well. There's no excuse, is there?
Indeed, yeah. But I mean, look at the midfield that Vinny's got, or that they've all got at Real Madrid. They've got a midfield that is making the bullets for them to fire. And the midfield just isn't working. Part of this is individual. And poor old Bruno Guimaraes is just having a mare. He's never done it for Brazil. And he's the one who's really coming under fire now. And they took him off at half time, and he didn't block the shot from Gomez. He's not doing anything with the ball at his feet. But also, I think that the coach is out of his depth, because he doesn't really know what he wants to do with his fullbacks. And now that Brazil have wingers, they've got more wingers than they know what to do with. What is the role of the fullbacks? And they're not tucking in and helping out as extra midfielders in the build-up. They're not really doing anything. So at the moment, they look an absolute shambles.
Is Joe Linton out of the picture completely? Because him and Guimaraes always work well together for Newcastle.
Well, yeah, and he hasn't got a great deal of constituency here, because he didn't play very long and didn't play for a big team. He got in towards the end of last year under the previous coach, And then very harshly, the last round in November, he got himself sent off. So he was suspended for this one, but no one's really been talking about him. So he's going to have to do something special, I think, for Newcastle to get his way back in, because the priority is invariably given to those either who are playing at home or those who are remembered by the fans of the big clubs here.
Now, this controversial goal, I'm sure it'll be going viral as the story unfolds. This was in the Chile-Bolivia game. Eduardo Vargas, the goalkeeper, he goes to get the ball. The goalkeeper goes down, and you look at what the goalkeeper, you think, is he having you on? Is he really hurt? So Vargas has got an empty net to walk the ball into, which he does.
He does. I agree with what you're saying. He had to score.
He had to score.
But you can see the goalie's injured. He does that thing when someone's injured. He raises his arm.
But you can cheat by raising your arm.
Well, I suppose so. That'd be a bit
anyway, he puts it in the net, and the Bolivia players go absolutely mad and said, he should have been sporting and not put the ball in the net. But it all came to naught in the end. But I take it you've seen the goal, Tim.
I have, yes. Yeah. Remember, this is Chile at home to Bolivia. Bolivia at home is your must-win game. It's the one where you've added on 3 points before the game. And Chile are 1-0 down. And he's already taken off in the first half. He's the coach. He's gone mad, the Chile coach. He's overloaded his team with attacking players. And he's taken off Brereton. He doesn't like Brereton because Brereton doesn't speak Spanish, and the coach doesn't really understand this. He's old school, before the era of globalization. So he takes off the one man who can give him some penalty area presence. He's taking him off, and so this is a disgraceful result. For they're 1-0 down, and Vargas has the ball in front of him and an open goal, and he's taking it. Now, he's not going to look behind to see the state of the goalkeeper, who has in fact ruptured his Achilles tendon and will be out for long term.
But when you see the keeper's reaction, Tim, you would never know it from that, would you? He just goes down really harmlessly.
He does in front of him. He's in front of him with his arm. I can see that he had to score, but he does. Yeah, you can see the goalie's injured.
What could have happened is that Chile could have done a Bielsa and said, "All right, we will just part the waters and let you score."
That's what I
think. But there was absolutely no need for that, because straight from the kickoff, Bolivia go down the other end and score a goal anyway.
Fair enough.
This is an amazing result. This is Bolivia's first away win in World Cup qualification for 31 years and 67 games. Wow. It's an incredible result, and they've lost almost all of those games. They've drawn a few here and there. And Bolivia, the only team to have picked up 3 points from both of these games. And you could have got very, very long odds against that before it started.
Villa's director of football, Monchi, has been saying that they had dozens of clubs from around Europe and beyond that wanted to sign Jhon Duran.
I'm not surprised. I mean, he looks really good.
And they were delighted to have kept him. West Ham and Chelsea were the most obvious one because we knew about those bids. But he's looking the part, Tim, isn't he?
Well, they've been waiting for him for a long time, really. On Colombia, they're the only unbeaten side in the World Cup qualifiers, but they don't score a lot of goals. And since the decline of Radamel Falcao Garcia, they've been crying out for a centre forward, and they don't really have one. And Duran, he's been infuriating. I mean, in the Copa America, they brought him off the bench once. That shows where he was in the pecking order then. All the other strikers were getting games ahead of him because coaches, I don't think, have trusted him that much. He does silly things. But this FIFA date, he looked the part. He came off the bench when they were losing to Peru, and he saved them the game. Peru just couldn't cope with him in the air. And in yesterday against Argentina, it was harder for him. He started. It was the first World Cup qualifier that he started. But he still looked very useful. He was heavily involved in the move that led to this disputed penalty where Argentina lost the game. Got himself suspended right at the end because he took too long to walk off the field getting substituted. That's probably not a problem because it means the game he misses is next month's trip to the extreme altitude of Bolivia. You can afford to miss that one and then come back roaring against Chile at home. But he looked like he could be the missing part of the jigsaw. With the start he's made to the season at Villa, he's taken time to mature, but it looks as if he's finally getting there. And that's good news for Villa. Yeah. And it's exceptional news for Colombia.
Yeah, excellent. He's taking shape. Luis Suarez in Montevideo said goodbye to the Uruguay fans. You said it was a bit of a strange affair.
Very strange, because remember, Suarez announced his international retirement last Monday. 2 or 3 days before, they'd had the news that Darwin Núñez would be suspended for 5 games because of the fracas at the end of the Copa America semi-final when the Uruguay players went up to fight in the stands with the Colombian fans. So they haven't got Darwin Núñez for 5 games. So you're thinking Suarez has been the backup to Darwin Núñez. So you're thinking, step up, Suarez, it's all yours. And then immediately he announced his retirement for international football. And he says he's going in the middle of the FIFA date. So he's going to play at home against Paraguay, but he's not going to go to Venezuela. So it's very strange. Now, this is Uruguay's hour of need. And Suarez has always had a real sense of sacrifice. So why has he done this? What's gone on? My interpretation is, and I think this is shared widely in Uruguay, is that the relationship between him and Bielsa broke down a little bit, where Suarez might have thought, when Darwin Núñez is suspended, I'm going to be the man. And Bielsa says to him, you know what, you may not be automatic first choice. And Suarez thinking, well, I'll be reserved to Darwin Núñez, but I ain't going to be reserved to anyone else. So I'm going to choose the time and the place that I go. And it kind of forced Bielsa to pick him last Friday against Paraguay. He's not the player he was. He hit the post and some lovely layoffs, but obviously he's lost some of his pace. But the Suarez farewell, it kind of overshadowed the whole event. It was like more important than World Cup points. And Uruguay got held to a 0-0. And then without five players that they've got suspended from the Copa America, without 2 more who got suspended against in the game against Paraguay, including Valverde of Real Madrid, who's the key man, without 4 more players injured. So they're really down. Suarez removes himself from the squad to go up to Venezuela. So it's all a little bit strange, and they got another 0-0 draw there. They are still the top scorers in World Cup qualification, Uruguay, but the whole Suarez thing, it kind of overshadowed this FIFA date for them, and I think it was a very strange note for him to bow out on, because he's not retiring. He's still going to be playing for Inter Miami. So you're thinking, well, why not just play until November? No, another couple of months, and then Darwin Núñez comes back. But obviously he wanted to choose now as the time, and I suspect that's because he's falling out with Bielsa. Bielsa, who did a terrific bit of Bielsaism last night, he brought on early second half, he brought on a playmaker, Facundo Torres, and towards the end of the game, he substituted him. And Bielsa says, you know what, I feel really sad when players have to take responsibility for the errors of the coach. It was all my fault. I read the game wrong.
Just one final one. Memphis Depay has gone to Corinthians to play in the Brazilian league. It's interesting. Ronald Koeman said he wouldn't be picking Steven Bergwijn again because he'd gone to Saudi, and he was asked, well, okay, what about the Brazilian league? He said, well, it's a much higher quality, which is why Memphis is still in the frame. So a couple of questions really. What about the quality of the Brazilian league if you're going to be playing top level European football? And B, it seems there's a fair bit of money suddenly in Brazilian football to pay these guys.
Yeah, there is. This one is controversial because Corinthians owe an absolute fortune. And they haven't paid some of their previous transfer fees. This is absolute desperation. They're in the relegation zone. And the president is suffering impeachment. They lost their main shirt sponsor earlier this year because they were found to be siphoning off money into private bank accounts. They've got another shirt sponsor now, but they've just been a zoo, an absolute zoo. And during this transfer window, they've signed practically an entire new team. They're doing everything that they can in an attempt to avoid relegation. I'm going to be fascinated to see how the other players accept it, because he's by far, I think, the leading salary in the club. This happened with Luis Suarez last year, but I think the Grêmio players were more than happy to have Luis Suarez with them. But Memphis, he doesn't have the same cachet as Luis Suarez to a Brazilian audience yet. It does remind me of watching the Euros and thinking, blimey, Van Dijk's got a passing range, because I remember one of his passes went all the way to Memphis. I was thinking, blimey, how did he do that?
That's very good.
These are the jokes, folks. In terms of the standards, well, I mean, of the Paraguay side that beat Brazil last night, 5 of them make their living in Brazil. The standard is rising as the quality of the players rises. But the big problem is the calendar. There are too many games. It's a massive country. There's so much travelling. That's the reason Brazil is in such trouble with its coaches. It's not producing coaches because the calendar just doesn't allow coaches to develop. There's too many games, and if they lose 3 in a row, they're out. So it just produces cautious apparatchiks rather than what you might expect from Brazilian coaches, with one or two exceptions. So all of the European, and Bolassi's over here at the moment having a fabulous season, really fabulous season. But he's thinking, blind, there's so many games and there's so much travelling. It's the kind of thing that it might end up taking a year or two off his career.
Nice one, Tim. We'll catch up with you next week.
Look forward to it. Cheers.
Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs, Monday to Friday afternoons 1 till 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.